Good afternoon. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We're also streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your Facebook page and look us up and hit C first. And that way you can get all the great programming we have on the New Haven Independent and 103.5 radio here in New Haven. Uncle Lou, how are you today?
Hey, how's it going, Joe?
Good, man, good. I'm recovering from the weekend.
Yeah, I heard you had a little slip there. What happened there?
Oh, I'll tell you, I had a great time Saturday. I went up to Massachusetts to this thing called Steve's Stock.
Nice.
It was very interesting, very fun little event. It was held on a private estate. And they had a bunch of vendors there. I saw a lot of our friends over there. Cushley was there. Pop Pockets, One Hit Wonder.
Nice.
420, what is it, the Unbreakable.
Right.
So there's a lot of Connecticut people there, which was nice. And I got to see a bunch of old friends from the school,
nice.
And things like that. And I ran into Ellen Brown.
Yep.
And
very nice,
I asked her to call in today. So she's going to be calling in a little bit later.
We love Ellen. She's very informative. She's a great person. She's a vet. We love supporting her.
Yeah.
And all of her endeavors. And she's a graduate of the school that.
Yeah. Well, no, not a graduate. She was a teacher there.
That's right. Hey.
Yeah. She was one of the top teachers there.
That's right.
So I ran into her, but it was a good time. Obviously it's Massachusetts, so things are a little different up there. And so the vendors were vending more than CBD products.
Oh yeah.
And I think I had a little too much of the infused products because
it's always a good time.
When you get somebody gives you an Italian ice with 100 milligrams of THC in it, you got to eat the whole thing.
Oh
right?
yeah.
And then somebody gives you a lemonade or something, iced tea with 100 milligrams of THC in it.
Yeah, that's the standard.
You got to eat the whole thing.
Recreational adult use. That 100 milligram portion has kind of become that standard, and it's a knockout portion. In all honesty,
if you don't have a high tolerance, and you're just an average user,
oh well,
you eat that.
I know, Joe. You got to work on that one.
I drank.
Edibles are different.
That's what I'm saying. I can smoke all day.
There you go. You'll medicate
edibles,
recreationally. Adult use. You're doing it.
Yeah.
You can smoke. But edibles are those things. You ever hear those interviews with Cheech and Chong?
Oh yeah.
Tommy Chong, he's like, I can smoke and eat and do it all. It's great. But Cheech Marin, he goes, I don't do edibles.
Yeah.
They just do me wrong. And because I don't have a large intestine, I don't really take in as much. So my dosage, I need like a 500 milligram
for
dose
edibles.
To really start doing something. But if I partake in combustion, I smoke a joint, the medication it's
quicker,
it's quick hitting, and then
that's the good thing. Yeah, that's the difference when you have like a stomach pain or you take a quick hit and it does make it go. But the edibles for me are more recreational.
Ooh, they do the job.
Oof. So I had a good day, but unfortunately after I got dropped off and I went home, I had to stop somewhere and I got out of the car and there was like this divot like and I just tripped. I tripped over it and I twisted my knee. And,
oh man.
So now I got to go get an MRI after this, and it's a big pain in the neck. But I'm hobbling.
Nice.
I'm hobbling around.
Steve's Stock I heard was amazing. I got great reports from up there. Did you go with our friend?
I went with Paul, Dab and Dad,
Very nice.
and Pat from Normal.
Very nice. So it was a nice trip up.
Yeah, we had a good old time.
That's awesome.
But unfortunately afterwards I got injured.
Yeah.
But I did get to enjoy the day. But it's just very interesting how Massachusetts it's so much different.
Oh, it's enjoyable.
Than Connecticut,
it really
because
is.
of recreational.
It is.
You can do whatever you want on private property.
Yeah. That private gatherings is pretty nice. And
I mean, if that was in Connecticut, you would have had helicopters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I swear.
But the idea is that you can recreate adult. And be civil.
You had to be 21 to get in.
What I mean?
So
you're not. It's no children. You're not causing any issues. There's no fighting. There's no violence.
Nothing.
The cops aren't coming. It's a peaceful gathering, and then when everybody's done, they kind of just go upon their way as they need to go upon their way. You know,
And it's nice. It's products. People
Yeah.
showcasing their products. You know,
and it's not all THC, you know, because there is some CBD. There was some
CBD.
ancillary products, as all the Connecticut people,
Lots of
entrepreneurs that you
ancillary
spoke.
product, right? All the Connecticut entrepreneurs are ancillary.
Exactly.
Pretty
So
much.
nobody was up there from really Connecticut selling vending like that. So
No.
they're selling their products. Cushly, the Unbreakables, they're selling their products. Where
Yeah.
if you're sitting here listening in our radio circle, you can kind of understand that the rules are different. But if you're in the internet world, you can say, hey, just make the hour and a half drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you want to start your business here in Connecticut, that's kind of what we practice and preach, because that's
CBD
what we're doing.
or ancillary.
CBD or ancillary, exactly.
You stay away from THC.
Yeah, you know, like, well, our own endeavors. We have the office downtown with Keeper has Canna Health. That's where we have our cannabis consulting's office, and then right next to that we have our yoga studio, dance hall.
Yep. Yep. Just getting that
community
ready.
space that's getting ready,
for
which
August.
is looking great.
Yeah.
We'll have one of the first events coming out is a CBD and yoga education course where Go Joes present naturals. We'll have a CBD education seminar beforehand. We'll use the Topstone vaporizer and
We'll
dab
do
some
topicals.
DVD. Yeah, and some CBD information all the way through, and have the instructor go for an hour. You know, some nice calming community music, and then finish up, and you'll learn about some CBDs, and
I like it.
you know. So that's the first one we got there.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So we're working on that. But yeah, there's you know, that's the thing with Connecticut. And, you know, I was looking at the news and a couple things struck me this week, struck a chord.
There
with
were a
me.
couple. There was a couple there, brother.
You know, I've been involved heavily in the fight to get opioid withdrawal and abuse on the Connecticut list of approved conditions. I was part of the original crew that helped put together the petition. And, you know, I've been working with Christina and everybody in Normal on this since the beginning. I've attended all the hearings. I put in testimony. You know, I helped do all the research for the petition. And it's come up before the board twice here in Connecticut.
Yes.
And both times they rejected it
And
due
here
to
comes
lack
that
of
news.
evidence. Now
Here's
here comes the
news.
kicker.
Yeah.
New York just
Yup.
put it into their list of qualifying conditions without a problem.
Not an issue.
So my question is, how does New York find the enough evidence to put it on their list of qualifying conditions? What did the doctors in New York have more information than the doctors in Connecticut? What's different about? Is it something about the New York water in there that makes it work? I mean, why can the doctors in New York, not only New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, there's a bunch of states
And they're
now.
starting to come
A lot of states
quicker
are
too.
falling into place, adding opioids,
Yep.
and Connecticut has had the opportunity twice,
And they haven't.
and they turned it
And
down.
it's crazy because one might say the New York program might be a little bit harsher.
It's bigger.
Then
They
the-
have 62,000 people. It's double our program already.
It's also a little harsher because they didn't allow flour for a long, long
right.
time. So you couldn't even have flour. We
just
were at
oil, oil
just
and edibles.
oils. And you had to get them at a dispensary that wasn't really around. Those were hard to get.
Yep.
You know who is dominating that marketplace right now? No.
Red Men.
Canna-Leaf.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Canna-Leaf opened 3 in New York.
You mean Curaleaf?
Curaleaf, I apologize.
Yeah, Curaleaf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, they're
Curaleaf opened 3.
expanding. They're big.
They're
They're
really pushing.
Oh yeah.
You
They're
know,
in Mass too.
That's that. Oh, they're in Florida. They're in.
Oh yeah, they're all over.
I wonder why they don't want to sponsor us.
Because they're
Yeah.
not. Yeah, no,
That's
they're a
crazy.
medical company.
But
anyway.
now, hey, if you want to sponsor us, there are packages. Contact us.
Yeah. So I noticed that about New York and all these other states
And they're
adding
falling
opioids.
online quick.
Yeah. Why is it that
New
they
York's
can
push
find
was
the
almost
evidence?
nothing. That time frame was so short.
Dude, they put in the program after ours.
Yeah.
We've had a program in longer. Supposedly, Connecticut is like always touting how they have the best program in the country, but yet they've had an opportunity twice to be the leaders in this,
and
and
they're
they've
not.
dropped the ball. Now, I want to know why, and I have some theories on why.
Let's hear why, Joe.
I believe that the head of the Board of Physicians, his name is Dr. Seal D'Souza,
Yep.
has been holding up this because he works for a company called Insys and does studies and research for them. And do you know what studies and research he's doing for them? To find listen to this, to find a cure, to find a synthetic cannabinoid, to determine and create a synthetic cannabinoid and to find a cure for cannabis withdrawal, cannabis addiction. They're looking to put so and you know what, Insys is the largest manufacturer of fentanyl.
Yep.
So why would he want cannabis in there? Because they also make more methadone and Suboxone.
Oh yeah, you know.
You tell me, why is that not a conflict of interest?
I don't get it.
That this guy is on their payroll.
The Bible Belt is jumping in on
opioids.
Exactly. So why wouldn't we? And that's where a lot of people make their concerns, and then they push the evidence. Oh, the kids are gonna get it. Oh no.
Yeah.
But it's BS, and I call it out on that, because Connecticut Board of Physicians should be advanced in what they know, and they should see that the CBD and the THC is really going a long way.
All right, we're going to go give Kibra a call.
Ooh, we got Kibra.
I want to give Kibra a call.
Kibra's in
we're
the
going to
West
ask her
Coast.
what's going on Cali.
Yeah.
Here she is. We're calling her right now.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey.
Is this Kibra?
This is Kibra. Hi.
This is Joe and Lou. You're on the air.
Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all.
California girl, what's going on? Tell me what's up in Cali.
I'm on Venice Beach, and some people are dancing to a guitar player. And, I'm on a tour, so the tour guide is explaining something, but my friend, she'll get the instructions.
Yeah, look, Venice
But
Beach
it's,
is just
the
enjoy
weather's
it.
so nice. It's like 75, 80 degrees. No
Beautiful.
humidity.
Right? It's beautiful out there.
Joe's having
and
flashbacks
then there's
over
the White
here.
Man Can't Jump basketball court.
Yep. And the Muscle Beach is over there, right? Where Hulk
Muscle
Hogan and all
Beach.
those Arnold worked out in the
Yeah.
old days. Yeah.
Yep.
Venice is one of my favorite spots in California. Enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I am. So I guess I should really listen to this tour instruction. But
Okay.
hi guys, I'm sorry I'm not there with you all.
No, you
I'm
enjoy
having
yourself.
fun though, and I'll come back with some.
Yeah, tell us about the
good ideas.
recreational market out there.
That's
Have you gone
right.
to recreational dispensary?
Yes, I will be going to. Maybe I'll make a couple of lives or videos or something. We can
Yeah,
do.
go live.
Yeah, I want to see. They're on Venice Beach. They have a lot of them on Venice Beach, actually.
Yeah,
So
I
you-
was thinking about seeing if I could get my card while I was here.
They do that. They do
You can
that.
get that right on
But
the
it's
beach.
recreational. I mean, why do you need it?
I mean, I know, but just for the heck of it.
They'll do it.
Get
Trust
it,
me.
Girl.
All right,
How
well,
do you
y'all
think I got
you
my
guys have
first
a
card?
good radio show today. I'm sorry, I'm missing y'all.
All right.
You enjoy yourself, dear.
All right, talk to you later.
All right,
Thank you.
Kira.
Bye.
Miss
Bye.
you. Oh, there
Oh,
we
that
go.
was nice checking in with her.
Yeah, she's on a tour of Venice Beach. Venice Beach is one of my favorite.
Yeah, I saw you reminiscing over
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Your
I'm
eyes were
thinking,
just going
yeah.
into La La Land. How much you miss that place, don't you? I still
Well-
have not made my way out to the West Coast completely. Vegas is kind of where
You stopped?
I've stopped. I really like Vegas. I'm not even gonna bullshit you.
Well, Vegas.
Vegas is one of them. Ellen Brown is on. She's watching us on the Facebook Live.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Well,
we
she'll
got
call us
Brian
in about
on there.
5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, we know Brian is on there. He's watching us as well.
Good,
We like having
good,
Brian
good.
around. He's a very knowledgeable member
Yeah,
of
he's
the
called
community.
into the show
Yeah.
before.
What else we have going on?
So Keeper's in Cali. Cali just went rec. When I went out there, when I lived in Cali, it was only medical. Oh, Ellen's calling now. She's a little early.
That's
but all
okay.
right, we'll talk to her.
Hi. That's so funny. I'm watching you right now, and I wonder if it's a little bit delayed.
It just has a small
Yeah, it
delay.
is. It has a short delay.
But that's all right. That it allows for it
It's so
allows
funny
for the
'cause
rest
I'm
of
like-
the world.
Because you guys had just gotten off the phone with Kiwi. You're like, Ellen's going to call. I'm like, yes, I am.
Well, here you are. Yeah, we're
Oh,
just
that's so
discussing a
funny.
few things. But first, before we talk to you, I wanted to just give you a formal introduction. So, Ellen Brown is ProMax Grow's educational ambassador and master cultivator. Ellen Taylor Brown has mentioned hundreds of cannabis growers throughout the U.S. over the last 10 years. Ellen's extensive knowledge and firsthand industry experience has made her a sought-after cannabis expert. A veteran of the United States Air Force, Ellen was awarded the Air Combat Command National Medicine Airman of the Year Award in 2008. As founder of Sensimilia Seminars, Ellen has taught thousands of students, patients, and caregivers from all over the country in large classroom settings, yes, I know that, to freelance consulting in the marijuana industry for the last decade. Ellen's educational outreach specializes in sustainable cannabis cultivation, best practices on how to create a multitude of cannabis byproducts from tinctures and edibles. A prominent associate and educator, Ellen has spoken all over the world, including the Northeastern Institute of Cannabis, where you were an instructor, the Boston Freedom Rally, and High Times Jamaica Cannabis Cup, using her knowledge and insight to help others and inspire others to be their own best advocates. Ellen uses her tremendous skill set to set her students up and clients for success in the cannabis industry. She continues to impart her years of wisdom and experience as a long way to help create much-needed paradigm shift on the failing war on drugs. She believes that if we teach each other about the benefits of cannabis and the hemp plant, we'll be able to secure the plant's safety and future generations. An industry that is evolving, growing, and thriving, we need more teachers like Ellen who empower and lead by example. There you are.
Now that is an introduction.
I gave you the full deal, but from my own personal standpoint, I have known Ellen for a few years since I started working at the Northeastern Institute of Cannabis in 2014, and Ellen ended up becoming an instructor there, and probably one of the top instructors there. And I've always admired Ellen's advocacy and the fact. I always used to say to Kara over there, Ellen is all over the place. Are you sure there's not more than one of her? Because I would see you, on Facebook. Ellen's in Seattle. But then I would see you the next day at the school, and I'm like, weren't you just in Seattle? Oh, yeah, I just popped a flight back. I'm here. And, I always admired that you were all over the place. You were out there. You were doing things. You were, advocating. You were teaching and instructing. And I really always admired that too. You've been an inspiration to me in this industry. So I wanted to just touch base with you, Ellen. We ran into each other at Steve's Stock. And let us know what's going on with you right now.
Oh, well, well, thank you so much for the introduction. I really appreciate it. It was fantastic seeing you at Steve's Stock. Here in Massachusetts, what's going on is we are finally at the point where our recreational dispensaries are getting approved, although they're not open for sales yet. So it's a lot of hurry up and wait, but there is progress, so we're happy about that.
And right now up in Massachusetts, you can possess and you can
yes,
share.
Yes, sir, and you can also cultivate.
And you can cultivate. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch base with you on a little bit, was cultivation. Because here in Connecticut, we don't have the right to cultivate. As a matter of fact, we're probably the only state in New England other than New Hampshire who does not allow the right to cultivate.
New Hampshire changed. New Hampshire, the medical marijuana patients can now cultivate for themselves.
As of July 1st.
Okay. As of July 1st. So now we are the only state in New England that does not allow their own patients to cultivate.
And it's not because you guys have, you know what I mean? It's not because it's a good idea if you're the only ones not doing it.
Yeah.
There's something behind that. Connecticut absolutely needs to adapt and look at their regulations and realize that medical marijuana patients need the benefit of being able to cultivate for themselves instead of making them dependent on those brick and mortar dispensaries and creating a monopoly in the state of Connecticut when you could have thriving entrepreneurship.
And that's what we have here. And you hit the nail right on the head. You said that magic word. We have a monopoly. And it's really the growers here in Connecticut who blocked grow rights. Initially, when we submitted the bill, it had grow rights in it. And they took them out because it became a non-starter for the cultivators, because they were putting in all this kind of money, to get their licenses. And it was just became a non-starter. They took it out of the bill, and they wouldn't even think about it with grow rights in it.
And they're still not looking to think. It's rough because the large-scale cultivators, like Advanced Grow Labs, for one example, they're one of the biggest pushers. And every time they say, oh, there's not enough, we'll add another 10,000 square feet. We'll add another 20,000 square feet.
Anything not to have new cultivators licensed here. And I just think the medical program is doing our patients a disservice. Because the truth of the matter, Ellen, tell me the truth, honestly. How many people actually grow? How many people actually have the wherewithal, the skill set to grow a good product? They're afraid that everybody in Connecticut all of a sudden is going to grow a pot patch in their backyard and start selling it. But let's get down to the realistics of growing, Ellen. It's not easy.
It's definitely a labor of love, and I like to say anybody, the kids movie Ratatouille, anybody can cook, anybody can grow. It just takes time, it just takes patience. I think the secret ingredient is always love, but it's until harvest do you part. So you're there from seed to cure, and it's it can be a full-time job. It is another full-time job in your home. So even taking care of 6 cannabis plants, that's time that you have to dedicate every day to watering, stripping your plants, feeding your plants, knowing the right nutrient schedule, having a perpetual harvest set up, having the genetics set up. And it is a lot at first, but if you plan accordingly, it can absolutely be done. But some people like to try it just for the novelty of trying it, and then other people, once you try it, you become addicted. And I say that jokingly. Ed Rosenthal has a quote that smoking marijuana isn't addictive, but growing it is, and I think that's the truth. Because once you start to cultivate your own cannabis, you find that it's relaxing. You find that you take pride in your work. But most people, maybe because of a time restriction or maybe because of a physical restriction, might not want to cultivate their cannabis. But I think everybody can agree that they would like to have the choice.
The right to do it.
It should be a choice.
Yeah, it should
be
my
right.
choice.
If they're a medical marijuana patient, if you would like to cultivate for yourself, absolutely, but you don't have to. And both of those options should be available for medical marijuana patients because, again, these are patients, not criminals. It doesn't make sense that they're allowed to cultivate throughout the United States. There are many states that allow for cultivation rights, and Connecticut is actually in the minority for states that do not allow cultivation rights for patients. So I would love to see that change. I don't think you're going to get not everyone's going to turn their basement or a closet into a small place to grow, but it would be wonderful to have the option there. And then it would also help to boost ancillary businesses like hydroponic shops, for example.
Right. People selling the equipment.
So it would
grow.
help. It would help the economy. It would help the local economy.
Yeah, I could see a lot of hobbyists maybe coming out of it. Somebody who might want to grow 1 or 2 plants.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to have some good quality cannabis around. And like you said, everyone can learn to cook, but not everyone can cook good. So you're going to end up with a lot of people who are growing, and it might not be the best product to sell or go out there in the marketplace with, but for themselves, they're perfectly happy with it because maybe they're using it to make a butter out of it or tinctures or things like that. And that's kind of the next thing I wanted to talk to you about. The other part of home cultivation, a lot of people like to home cultivate, and like I said, they don't really care about if it's saleable quality because they want to make their own tinctures. They want to make their own medicine. There's something to it. They know what went into it. They know how it was made. They want to make butter for edibles, and I think that a lot of people forget that.
Exactly, or they might be looking for something like a strain-specific medicine. They might be looking for something that's higher and rich in CBD or rich in THC or just a rainbow of cannabinoids that maybe the brick-and-mortar dispensaries don't offer. And because everyone's endocannabinoid system is so unique, patients should absolutely be afforded the right to cultivate for themselves and then turn that cannabis into byproducts, whether or not it's, tinctures or edibles, or just put it into a carrier oil for later on if they wanted to use it in, like coconut oil. You could put it into a topical, or you could use it in edibles. So there's definitely a lot of options that become available to people when they have their own cannabis, because when you start to grow, you might grow the first time and maybe you don't even get an ounce on the plant. But if you stick with it for years and you keep detailed notes, you're going to figure out what you did right, what you did wrong, what you liked, what you'd like to change. And with that, it's only going to get better with time.
Right.
Only going to get better with
practice.
time. So then they'll have more cannabis that they're able to take care of themselves. And then you'll find that they're actually in the black. They're profitable instead of, in the red with buying from a dispensary. Because when you buy from a dispensary, you only have that limited amount. If I'm able to grow a cannabis plant, take care of my cannabis plant, I could get an ounce, I could get a quarter pound, I could get a pound just off one plant. And that's with time and patience and growing. So, if it's something that they're passionate about, I definitely think anybody can cultivate great cannabis, especially with practice.
Right. As long as but they should, whether or not they do, they should have the right to choose for themselves.
Exactly. And you can brew your own beer. I'm not going to brew my own beer.
I can
That
grow
would take
basil.
time. That would take energy. But I know some hobbyists who they love that they can brew their own beer. They love that they can, grow their own vegetables. It should be the same thing. I'm just taking care of myself.
I agree with you. I agree. You can make medicine out of a lot of herbs that they let you grow legally around here. Totally. And there's even some herbs you can grow legally that you can get high from that people don't know about. Morning glories and things like that. People don't even know that there are herbs that are legal to grow that you can high from that aren't cannabis. So there's no reason to exclude it and treat it like a criminal. And it should be just as accessible as growing tomatoes or growing, your own herbs in your own garden. And,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
I think having these conversations is absolutely going to help create that much needed paradigm shift. I really appreciate all the education that you and Keeber provide at Canna Health, because every single person you talk to, that's a mind that you've changed, and they're voters in the state of Connecticut. So they're going to be able to go, get out, talk at those state hall meetings, at those city council meetings, as well as maybe reach out to the Department of Consumer Protections, who is the governing body of your medical marijuana program, and say, hey, this doesn't work for us. What can we do to change it?
Oh, we do. We try.
I know.
It's just grow rights are so tough. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. I noticed, if you get, let's say, cannabis that's cultivated by a real small cultivator, you usually end up with a much better product than, say, what you buy at a dispensary from a large-scale commercial cultivator. Now, what is the difference, and what's the difference between soil and hydro, and why do I find that things I get from a small cultivator are better quality than the stuff I get from my dispensary?
I like to say that there's no love in a guerrilla grow. There's just no love in a guerrilla grow. It's about mass production. That's what they care about. That's really, they care about the product, but they also, unfortunately, they need to reach those numbers, whatever those numbers are, for their patient count, to make sure that they're going to be in the black and they're going to be profitable. So they don't necessarily, they don't have as much time, or they don't take, it's a little bit hard to say, but I think that the home cultivator, because that's their primary, they take that extra time to make sure that it's cured properly, that when they pull it, the trichomes were milky and amber. They're not just trying to pull for weight, they're pulling for taste, they're pulling for terpenes, they're pulling for that beautiful cannabinoid profile flavor. So I think with that, that's why, you consistently see better products out of the smaller growers than the larger growers. And also with large-scale growers, there are usually many people on the job. It's not just one person. It's a whole group of people looking over these plants. So with that in mind as well, it might be better to just have one person overseeing it, knowing what they're doing, knowing what they're looking for, because sometimes too many cooks can spoil the kitchen.
Yeah, I could see it all be done on timer and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, we're gonna harvest it now because it's 3 months. Whereas the home grower will look at it and say, well, even though it says it should be ready for harvest, I'm going to give it an extra few days to let these trichomes really develop. Or, maybe this plant's ready, but this plant isn't quite ready. Whereas, these guys are growing and they're under 10,000 square foot canopies with a ton of lights. Everything's done automatically, probably by computer on a timer. So they're just going like robots, like, okay, we harvest now and we cure. They cure for 2 weeks. They put a 2-week cure on it. I mean, how?
And that it should be a month. It should, in my personal experience, it should be longer. And again, it's also hard because the growers, what I've noticed a lot of the time, they're beholden to whoever is paying them. And, the growers sometimes have a pushback from the dispensary because the growers, like I said, it's a labor of love. We grow because we care. We grow because we're passionate. We grow because there's nothing else I would rather grow or be doing. I love growing cannabis. It brings me, satisfaction. It brings me pride in my work. And when you work for somebody else and it's their grow, technically you're just working it. So you don't get the final say.
Right.
You don't get to say, well, I'd like to cure it for that extra 2 weeks, because the person that pays you said, yeah, well, we need it now. And that's where that hard point comes in, where I find that there's kind of a little bit of a discord between, the people that are putting it together with absolutely no experience, as opposed to those, grassroots growers, the people that have been doing it for a long time that know that, yes, you need to wait until the trichomes are milky or amber. You're going for that terpene profile. You're going for those cannabinoids. Like, let's take that extra time to get a better product. And when it's mass produced, remember, there's no love in a guerrilla grow. They
Right.
just want that overturn. They're like, oh, this is the day, this is the time to pull. Where you're right, where a smaller cultivator might be like, well, let's wait, let's give it some time.
Right, because they know, they look at it through a microscope or whatever. I doubt you see these guys going through their 10,000-foot canopies looking at every single plant, making sure the trichomes are developed. I very much doubt that in a commercial grow. And I think that's the
And not
problem
even-
here in
yeah.
Connecticut. That's all we have. That's all we have. And whereas Massachusetts, you guys are going to give out small licenses and let the small growers, be entrepreneurs and thrive in this industry. And I appreciate that. And I just hope we do the same when and if we ever legalize here.
You know what? I think it's definitely. I think it's coming around the bend for Connecticut. I think Massachusetts is. They're trying very hard to be the poster child for East Coast cannabis. What can we do? How can we look like? How can we make it profitable for everybody? And we've taken the time to make sure that there's a lot of inclusion for veterans, minorities, women, people that have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. So our laws and regulations for the recreational market and even those craft licenses, we tried to make sure that we set some wrongs right, that we take the time to make sure that, we don't just have, we have a recreational program, but we also have a recreational program that's beneficial to the Commonwealth,
Right.
that works for absolutely everybody and make sure that no one is unable to get a license and that everybody is going to be able to profit, which is something that we did not have with our medical marijuana program. We had the same kind of thing Connecticut has, where everything is made in-house.
Right.
The cannabis is cultivated in-house, all the edibles are made in-house, all the tinctures, everything's made in-house. So if you're a young entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in the cannabis space, there's no way to get into those brick-and-mortar facilities, and then all that does is perpetuate the black market because you know that people are coming out with their own their own drinks and their own, like, cannabis-infused lemonade or cannabis-infused edibles.
Right.
And if you had given them a way where they were able to actually package that and sell it to the stores, that would keep everything above board. And then they get everything tested. So if people are allowed to do that, of course, they're going to want to go the more legal way as opposed to continuing to
The black
perpetuate the black market.
Right, right. Totally agree. And it seems like they've righted that wrong. And I just hope Connecticut can do the same thing because we were set up for the rich. I'll be honest. And your laws were set up for the same way. You needed a ton of money to get in the game because I think in Mass it was worse because not only did you need to have enough money to set up a grow facility, you needed to have enough money to set up a dispensary as well because it had to be all vertically integrated. Connecticut, at least they separated it, but both components were really expensive to get into. Both were designed for people with money and large investment. So I'm really happy that Mass has done that.
Yeah. And our medical, I think that's where we learned a lot from our medical marijuana program because it was so hard. There were so many barriers to entry is a good way to put it. It wasn't for the everyday man. It wasn't even for people that are a mom and pop couldn't succeed. You needed to be a multi-million-dollar industry prior. You need to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank that you don't touch. You need to, just the fees, the application fees are, you could drown in paperwork.
Right.
It was not user-friendly. When we first rolled out the program, it took a very long time. It took us 3 years to get our first brick-and-mortar open.
Longer
It
than
was
us, yeah.
we had a lot of trials and tribulations, and that's why I think that our recreational program, we decided to go a completely different way with it. And I'm very interested to see the Department of Public Health will no longer be in charge of our medical marijuana program. Soon it will be fall under the Cannabis Control Commission.
Oh.
And those 5 people have tried very hard to be open and honest and transparent and say, we're new to this too. Let's work together. So I've really, really, really appreciated the amount of feedback that they've been willing to take and how great it is that everybody's come out to give it.
Wow, that's great.
Our Massachusetts, our cannabis community of activists and educators, I feel like we're all very involved in the program, and I feel like we all make it a point to go out and impart our wisdom and give our opinions, and then as well offer ourselves as resources, because these people that are in charge of the program might never have smoked cannabis or used cannabis in their lives, that they'll admit. And with that in mind, we have to be able to tell them, this is how long it needs to cure. This is what we're looking for, application fees to be reasonable for the everyday person. There was a man named Lucas Thayer who every single time they brought up the fees for outdoor cultivation, he was like, you want $100, make it $50. Everything you want us to pay, I want you to cut it in half. And he went to every single meeting, and they did. They cut the fees in half, and they made it more accessible for the outdoor cultivator. So they've been very, very, very good at taking that feedback, and I've been appreciative.
Well, I hope we get that same kind of love down here. But that's great that they're changing it over to Cannabis Control Commission, because you got some good people on that commission.
We have great people on there, and I have been, I've been very disappointed with the Department of Public Health. It's like you can send it. I sent an email last October asking about if they were going to get rid of mandatory registration. I never got a reply. I asked about, a better caregiver. You can have 1-to-1, so I can be one person's caregiver, and I have to register with the state, and I'm not allowed to, make any money off of what I charge them or what they grow or anything like that. But if for a caregiver, Maine is set up completely different.
Yeah,
so
totally.
They're allowed to, charge their patients. They're allowed to have anything over a foot doesn't count for their plant count. They have the most conducive laws. So even though Massachusetts is great, if you're looking for a stellar medical marijuana program, look to Maine.
Maine, but their recreational program is a mess. They can't even figure out what they're going to do. You're right. They have a good medical program as far as the way their caregivers set up. And I think that's part of it. They don't want to. They're having a hard time figuring out how to integrate the two, because they don't want to totally destroy what they've set up medically, but they also want to make sure that's integrated and and people are getting tested and people are doing it right.
Exactly. And with the medical marijuana program in Maine has had the longest medical program here in New England.
Yeah.
They got theirs back in 1999. So when you talk to people about how they have to change the way that they've been operating when it's been completely legal, that there will be these new taxes, new fees, new overheads, you're talking about the bottom dollar to somebody's livelihood
they've been
that
doing
they've
it for
created
years,
there in the state of Maine.
Over 10 years.
That's their livelihood. So I really feel like that's where that's where that pushback comes, because that's how people have been taking care of themselves and their neighbors for almost 20 years.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Very, very true. And it is going to be a tough fight up there, especially with that governor they got. But I hear he's leaving, so that's a good thing.
And stay out.
Right. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on now, because we want to bring you down to Connecticut, obvious. But tell us what you're doing right now in the industry, as far as Sensimilia seminars, Promax Grow, what your activism, what's going on with you right now. Tell us about Sensimilia seminars.
Thank you. So right now, I'm focusing on teaching classes. I'm working with the Homegrown Healthcare in Maine. I'll be holding an indoor cultivation seminar this Thursday up in Lewiston, as well as next month I'm going to hold a class about how to get the most out of your flowering cycle for your outdoor, so how to know how to harvest, trim, and cure, all those important details, as well as on the 11th of August, I'm going to hold a veteran appreciation class called Carrier Oils and Possibilities, and it's completely free for veterans, only for veterans, and they can come on in and get all their questions answered.
Oh, I love that.
And I'd love to start, I'm a veteran myself. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I think it's really important if we have a space where they'll give us a space for free, then we're able to give the veterans those classes for free, because really it's nothing but time.
Well, let's do something like that down here.
So I'd love to start doing that in Connecticut too.
Well, we do have spaces now. We actually have 2 spaces that we could actually teach classes out of. So let's.
I saw that. I'm so happy for you guys. I'm so proud of Kibra.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been great. We had the grand opening a few weeks ago, and I think the other space will probably be open early August. And yeah, we definitely want to bring you back down. You've taught here before. I know you've taught a few classes at Canna Health, and you did the cannabis basic training, and I think we're looking to do that again in the fall. So we definitely will want to have you back down here. And how do people get in touch with you?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at sensimiaseminars.com. I run all of the social media, so if you ask any questions. I try to reply promptly, and I will be the person you'll be speaking with.
Very, very cool. And anything else you want to plug? Anything else you got going on?
Well, coming up next month, I'll be speaking at the Seattle Hemp Fest, so I'm very excited about that. And also coming up is the Boston Freedom Rally, so I'm really hoping that everybody can come on out to that as well.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be seeing you up on the stage there speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. We'll be there for sure. So, well, very good,
I know
Ellen.
you will. I can't wait.
So it's Sinsemilla Seminars, and keep your eye out on Canna Health Facebook page for the next time Ellen's going to be down here, because now that we have a spot, we definitely will bring her back in. And it's been great talking to you with all your wisdom and insight, and we'd love to have you on again. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, both of you gentlemen, and I love that you do that weekly radio show. It keeps people informed and keeps people engaged, so thank you for your activism.
Oh,
thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. We got to do what we can down here, right?
Pay the bills,
Let's
Joe.
get us
I'm here to help. Anything I can do.
there. Let's get us syndicated up to Mass. All right, Ellen. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen. Take care. Enjoy the day.
All right,
Bye-bye.
you too. Bye-bye. Great
Bye.
lady.
She's awesome.
Great lady, Ellen.
Yeah.
So let me do this here.
Do it,
You're
bro.
listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent, or go to your Facebook page and look us up and hit see first. So that was a very informative discussion with Ellen.
Yeah. I love speaking with her. Anytime she's around, anytime. I always try to ear hustle as much as I can from her. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she's a good person.
Yeah, it's interesting what they got going on up there in Massachusetts compared to what we, it's not even, it's an hour away,
It's a big difference. And for being such a large group of small states,
we should get together on one
things
page.
should be a little bit differently, because as you guys were talking about, Maine has been so open for so long. Massachusetts has been fairly open, even with their medical program, because the brick and mortar side of it was the brick and mortar side of it, which really didn't get much attention because they allowed the home cultivation.
Right. That's why people were willing to wait.
Right. So those activists you guys were talking about are everybody who has benefited from that medical program. So now what makes it hard is our medical program doesn't allow for that community, doesn't allow for that entrepreneurship, doesn't allow for that.
No. There's two jobs
mix
you can
and
get.
mingling, you know what I mean? So now people in cannabis aren't really fighting for cannabis anymore. You know?
And it's different. I got to say, because I really tried to emulate them. After working up there in Mass and watching what they did, I realized that they really had it together.
Yeah.
And they got it done. And she even mentioned that. And I tried to emulate that down here, and I realized a couple things. A, like you said, the industry here is not as developed and not as opening. So people don't really feel like they have a shot at getting in. And B, it's very different when you are trying to be an activist towards the people. So when you're trying to convince people to vote yes for cannabis, it's a lot different. You're going out to the public, and you're canvassing the public. Here in Connecticut, you have to lobby the legislators.
Right.
And not a lot of people really have it in them to go do that.
And then
it's tough.
Let's call a spade a spade. In Massachusetts, the black market became the medical market.
Right.
The medical market are patients because now they have the ability to become patients. Before they didn't have the ability, so they had to be black market.
Right.
So now it allowed them to become activists and patients, get legal, and do things right along what their program says. So they feel comfortable coming out to their government and saying, I am a medical patient. This is what I do.
Yes.
I follow the rules. Please, let's move the rules forward a little bit more.
I totally agree with you.
Where here,
yeah,
we become patients, and now what's the best we can do? We can fight for the right for the medical patient to become a medical patient. That's what we're fighting for.
We have to fight for them to make the program better.
Now we have to get. We're not going to get if they're. I'm not saying there's people growing in Connecticut because that's illegal, but if there were some, high-end cultivators here in Connecticut that were doing it just like in Massachusetts, they're not going to come out of the woodwork and say,
we're cultivating because it's illegal.
Because
you're right.
It's illegal.
Made a big difference.
So,
the patients could come out of the closet.
Exactly. Yeah. So if a patient can come out of the cannabis closet, one might say, and say, hey, and it's with us the same way. people can see our faces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're listening to this in City Hall. They're
wherever.
we made sure that we got cards
We're
for a
on-
reason
we're
where
on-
people can see us, but
We're legit,
it opens
though.
us up. Oh, of course, but it opens us up for more scrutiny. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. I know. That was a big decision I had to make to go out and actually look. When I first saw myself on TV, I was a little pissed off because they didn't ask me
Right.
my permission. But
Right.
And then my neighbor comes up to me and says, "Hey, I saw you on TV for," and I'm like, and I know why I was on TV. So now here my neighbor knows, that I'm a medical patient. And maybe
the
I didn't
first
want
time
him
I
to
was
know.
on TV, I was working. My boss came up to me like,
What do you
so
do?
this is how you make all that. Well, you do catering in where? Massachusetts?
Yeah.
And I said, well, what do you, for the 2 days off I take a week, I have to, I
gotta
go up to another
I wanna
state.
get into the industry. Yeah.
and they didn't like it.
Well, that's the
you
same.
know,
I had to
and
drive
I-
to Mass 2-3 days a week
Yeah.
just to get in the industry
Yeah.
because there was no industry here in Connecticut. And this is true, both of us, right?
Yeah.
They had a medical program, but we couldn't get in because we
No.
didn't have tons of dollars. We weren't pharmacy techs,
No.
and we're not growers.
No.
So those are really the only jobs that are available here: a pharmacy tech, dispensary, or grower. Well, I'm not a grower. You're not a grower.
No.
So where do we go? Well, we
I
go
have
up
to drive up to
Mass.
Massachusetts.
And me too. I had to drive to Massachusetts for 3 years.
Yeah.
But again, it was a learning experience, and we really tried to emulate what they did up here. But
Yeah.
it's a different world
the
when you.
beast that they don't allow, the medical program that we have, we just have to keep staying patient, and right now we'll keep going up and we'll keep fighting for those grow rights. Hopefully that, if anything, if we don't get that legalization, we need grow rights. We need patients.
Just for the
need grow rights.
patients. Yeah,
Patients need grow rights.
Everybody seems to think that legalization is going to get pushed through this year. It really is going to depend on the election
Yeah.
and who gets into office and who's the majority and who's the minority.
Well,
because
I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I make sure to go down to meet the delegates every week.
I don't think we have any problems in New Haven.
Yeah.
I know for a fact.
Those are it's for the governor. So the same way there's
Well,
so in the chambers, the potential governors come and they meet
oh,
all the
well,
chamber
you need
members.
to talk to them and find out.
And I'm at my
I don't-
chamber events.
As far as I know, no Republicans are for it. Both Democrats are.
Yeah, they're not going to publicly come out
So
and say
who's
that
the
they're-
one Republican that's for it? And that's the guy who could beat a Democrat. Because right now, whether legalization people are for or whether they're Republican or Democrat, I think if you really want legalization, you got to vote for the candidate
Yeah.
who says they're going to put in legalization.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a hot topic issue this
I think
year.
it's a huge topic this year.
And both
and if
Democrats
we're going
have
to make
said
it a huge topic.
Oh, yeah, well, that's it. We have to.
It's not even if it's going to be a huge topic.
We have to.
We are going to make it a huge topic. Every time we speak to somebody, hey, excuse me.
What do you think about
what
legalization?
do you think about legalization?
Yeah.
If you're walking around, I did it the other day. Was that Bohemian High?
Yeah.
The gentleman next door who's renting the place is the
I-
state senator.
yeah, I
he was
saw that.
outside. He was outside.
Oh, you did get to talk
I
to him?
did. I stopped with him real quick. I said, "Excuse me, what is your thought on the legalization?" I have no problem with. Oh,
So there you go.
good job, guy.
That guy is actually running against Gail Schlossberg, who is a big opponent.
Oh.
So now you see,
He didn't care.
if he's for it, then he should get our vote.
He
What's his
get me.
name?
I forget his
I'll
name.
find it out next week,
Listen,
and I'm
we'll
gonna
go
tell
Bohemian
people to
High
vote
and we'll
for him.
find out.
Because he's going for Senate.
Yep.
He's going for Senate, and right now I think he's going for Gail Schlossberg's spot, right?
I believe so. For
And
that
she was
district.
against it.
Yep.
So if he goes
Look at
in,
that.
there's a pro vote.
Oh man.
All right, so there we go. We'll find out his name. Obviously, we're both at Bohemian High.
Yeah, they're good
multiple
people
times.
down there.
So we'll find out. Look next door and find out his name, and
I
we'll
pick
have
up
it.
lighter fluid from there.
Yeah.
Clipper for my lighters because you can refill those damn things.
Oh, really?
Those lighters, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like those. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's got some great products. at
Yeah, I like that
Bohemian
guy.
High. They should sponsor us.
They should.
So, another thing I noticed in New York that's different in Connecticut is the governor got a report back from the Department of Health,
Oh,
and the
Good
Department
report.
of Health recommended
yes, they did.
recreational marijuana
Isn't
in
that-
New York. New York is going to kick our butts.
Well, High Times Magazine did put a study out and did find that New York is the highest city in the nation.
They haven't even had a medical program half as long as ours, and it's already doubled.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's a huge state.
It's
Let's
a huge
be real.
state,
They have more
but
people.
they're doing it.
Of course, they're
going
to do it.
It's
going to
the
be
Big Apple.
Boston and New England.
Oh yeah,
New York is going to take the tri-state.
yeah.
Miami's going to take over the South
Yeah.
for sure. I'd have to say Austin, Texas will be the spot in the West.
Interesting.
Right? Austin's a very progressive city.
is.
Once Texas gets off their butt and does it,
Well, the Republicans over there are backing it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Oklahoma just
Yeah.
went medical, so that's their neighbor. So
Yeah.
they're seeing, people are going to be driving
It's
up to
coming from
Oklahoma.
both ends.
Yeah,
Because Texas overtakes that whole bottom
yeah.
part. So on all ends, Nevada on the other side.
And you talk
Arizona.
about some good activists in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not living in Texas, but they're all over my Facebook page.
Yeah.
So, it does. It takes the people out there fighting for what we want and what we believe
You know
in.
where I'm putting a lot of attention now?
Where's that?
Puerto Rico.
Dude, you and me both. That's my
Yeah.
next. That's
Yeah.
why I'm going there in November if you want to go.
Oh, Joe.
You
let's
know
make it
about
happen.
Vegas,
We
right,
make that
brother?
happen.
There's a
Yeah.
spot there waiting, brother. I'm just waiting for
It'd be the Bob
after
Marley,
this
the
hurricane.
Puerto Rican
after
Bob
this
Marley.
hurricane season. Oh, there's a lot going on Vegas,
There is,
brother.
There's a
and
lot going on in the cannabis
the
world in
mainland.
Puerto Rico.
They do already have medical.
Yep.
They have reciprocity.
Yep.
There are dispensaries
Yes, there
on
are.
the main island, and but there are none on the little islands.
We can do a little something.
Mhm. So, but it's interesting. They have cultivators. It's separate licenses. Okay, it looks like we're
I
going to
think we gotta. Yep.
All right, so let me just go over the events. What's going
Yes,
on?
sir.
Really,
What's
there's
going
only
on
a
this
couple
week?
things. There is a talk up in Hartford at the Wooden Tap in Rocky Hill,
With our good friend Jason Ortiz up
and
there.
Aaron Romano,
Yep.
both good friends of the show. Both have called in. That starts at 6:30. That's on the 24th of July. On the 27th of July is CannaCon in Boston,
Yes, sir.
up at the Heinz Center. People will love to go to that. It's a great convention if you want to learn about the industry. And then on the 28th of July, there is the Good Vibes Festival, and that's at Bohemian High
Yes, sir.
in Milford, and that's kind of their one-year anniversary celebration. And it's, Bohemian High, Go-Go Joe's is going to be vending there. I think Brian is going to have a table there.
Nice.
So it's going to be
Hey,
at the
Joe, let me throw some things
Yeah,
on your
of
table
course.
there. We
I've-
got some Present Naturals
Has somebody
out there.
been asking you for
I
products?
know, I know.
and not
You
getting
know
them?
what? Seattle,
Paint
come in.
patches.
Seattle, come in.
No, obviously,
you're right.
whatever
Those
we
CBD
have here,
paint
I will
patches,
sell
brother.
at that table. I sell Ricky D's barbecue sauce, of
We
course.
love Ricky D.
If you got Present Naturals, we'll sell them at the table, but I need them in my hand.
That's right, brother.
So,
All right.
Ashley, if you're listening.
Ashley.
All right, so we will see you next week. Cabra will be back. I'm hoping to have Joe Ganem
Ooh.
or Ava on.
Very nice.
Get-
Next week is a politician. Very
Yeah,
nice.
since we're getting to the closer to the primary, they want to get on the air a little bit. So
Nice.
I'm working on that. We'll let you all know, and we'll see you next week at 1 o'clock right here on WNHH.
Stay happy, healthy, and high, guys. Peace.